Okay, I just wanted to document this real quick for future reference and in case anyone else is working on their mill. I'm in the process of taking off the XY cross slide here, and I wanted to show how the Y axis lead screw and handle come out. If you take off the handle here, and then you've got the zeroing assembly, which unthreads from this collar here. And then you'll see there's two large screws here, and then there's what looks like a thrust plate right here, which comes out with 4 screws. And then you're left with this assembly on the mill itself. As you can see, this is the lead screw for the Y-axis. Anyways, just for point of reference here, the bearing is held in with a circlip, so be careful hammering on stuff trying to get it out without getting in the back to release this clip. Also, as you can see, there's 2 locating pins on this assembly. Excuse my voice there. There's 2 locating pins on this assembly, and those reference to these 2 holes. And then, as you can see, the 2 outside screws go into this these threaded holes on this boss. So once you take these 2 screws out, this piece here won't just pop out. What you have to do is you kind of have to tap on each side as you're as you're wiggling it out, and then it'll come free. At that point, I just sprayed WD-40 up under the knee onto the threads of the lead screw, and then I was able to back it out this way. And then at this point, I should be able to, I may have to adjust the jib screws here, slack them up a little bit, but I should be able to pull off this assembly right here, and then take this over to the bench and pull the start working on pulling the X axis off. So anyways, just wanted to update on how it's going here with tearing down the closing 8520. Okay, we're making a little more progress. I'm working on the left-hand side of the X axis, and on my particular mill I had the power crossfeed stuff on here, so I just wanted to show kind of how that goes together. There was, well, first of all, there was the 0 reset dial. Let me show you where that is. It's over here in the vise, because at least I'm not quite sure how it's supposed to be set up, or if this is correct, but here's the 0, the dial, and then here's the little knob that zeroes it, and then this knob, you can see there's a piece that goes, a steel piece that goes through here that this knob screws onto, and that steel piece spins inside here. You can see this turns, this dial is turning, but the little axle that it's on, which slips over into the lead screw, is not turning. So I don't know if it's pressed on or just stuck on, or how it's supposed to work, but the upshot of it is when you try to unscrew this, the thing it's screwed to just spins inside here. Anyways, so what I did was I just rigged up a couple little brass jaws on the vise, and I was able to pinch the kind of axle or sleeve that's threaded, and then I was able to reach in here very carefully and unthread this. I haven't taken it out of the vise yet, but I just want to show that's how I did that. Anyways, this goes on over here. That assembly goes on over here with the little knurled knob facing out, and then I guess when you have the power crossfeed, you have this assembly here, which is the gear for the power crossfeed, and you see it goes on with the Woodruff key like the handle here would normally do. And so this has a little sleeve on it with an Allen screw. So if you unscrew this back out this Allen screw, there's a piece of brass in here that presses against these threads on this threaded collar. This will come off. I'm not quite sure what this is for at this time, but I believe it's just to lock this gear with kind of a clamp fit on here. But I'm not really sure. I'm probably going to switch to a CNC setup or get rid of the power cross feed altogether. Anyways, and then this is the fixing nut on the very end. So, and then here's the little Woodruff key. So if you take off everything, you can see you've got this little fixing nut that kind of holds everything on, and it's using regular right-hand threads. So as you can see, I can just thread it back on this way. But when it's on there tight, you want to unthread it just like a normal nut. This is not a left-hand thread like the cross feed lead screw. So anyways, and then there's a little Woodruff key here, which goes into this this cutout here for the Woodruff key on the end of the lead screw. The best way to get these out, by the way, is you just take a brass punch or a little piece of brass and you pound down straight down one side or the other, and that'll cause it to kind of rotate up in its little slot, kind of like a seesaw. And then typically once you get one end that far up, you can kind of come at it with the brass punch again and pop it out. So anyway, just still working on getting the cross feed assemblies off of the knee. Basically just trying to make this thing as light as possible so I can get the column and the base off the trailer here. So, but I did want to make some videos here showing some of the stuff that I'm working on. So, okay, I'm in the process of removing the X-axis table here, cross slide, and in order to get the lead screw out that way, there's a bearing that's pressed on here. If you look carefully, you can see there's a little shoulder turned into this lead screw where the bearing sits. So what I ended up doing was I had an old gear puller around and I modified it. You can see the point that I ground onto this, which interfaces with the little divot in the end of the lead screw. You definitely got to be careful what you do with the gear puller. You don't want to mess up these screws, these threads right here. But I put a little heat on the bearing with the Benzomatic, and or I guess it's the Bernzomatic. Picked that up at Home Depot. Those things are really handy, and this is actually just running MAP. You just got to be careful with it because this thing gets real hot and you can melt metal real fast. Anyways, I lubricated the shaft with some Safe Tap and also some WD-40. So as you can see, I kind of fucked up the bearing a little bit when I was trying to use a block of wood under there. So, but that's okay. I'm going to throw new bearings in here anyways. But I just wanted to make a note about this little collar here and how to get the bearing out. So definitely use a bearing puller, lubricate this, put a little heat on the bearing, use a bearing puller. I was also able to tap from the back with a little action like that, but that does chew up the bearing a little bit. So anyways, got the right hand lead screw bearing off, and I think that'll allow me to just unscrew the cross slide, and then I should be able to get the table assembly off the knee here. So anyways, that's that, and I'll update as I continue here. Okay, I just want to show here, as you can see, I've got the table, I'm cranking it over using the lead screw on the left side here to unscrew the lead screw goes through here, and then there's a nut under here. And what I'm doing is I'm backing the lead screw all the way out of the lead screw nut. This is held in here with screws just like the other side, but when you remove them, there's still 2 pins that go in here, and on the underside there's also a little bearing and some washers right here. And on the back side of this bearing, it's held in with a circlip. So I'm not sure exactly how this whole assembly goes together. I suspect that this bearing is also pressed on here, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to try to take the table off, as I mentioned. But also, don't forget, when you are unscrewing it, you got to take off the jib screws here on the right-hand side, because they've got to get past this slide stop. And I'm not sure how this comes out, but I do see that there's a couple pins. There's an Allen head screw that I removed, and it appears there's an oiler here, so I've got to be a little bit careful. But these, you just loosen the jam nut, and then you just unthread them with a screwdriver, and just keep them in order, because there is a little bit of a difference between some of them. As you can see here, the ones that I've taken out for the, I guess this is the y-axis, you can see it looks like, I don't know, I don't think they're brass, but it looks like they're turned down. These are the ones at the end, and then the ones that are fully threaded, the 3 of them are in the middle, and then it looks like these are I think these are the wipers. Yeah, these are wipers for the waves, the dovetails, I mean. So you can see how those go. Anyways, should have the table off here pretty soon, and I'll continue to update the video. Okay, I've got the jib screws out on the right side. I just wanted to show you. There's 3 fully threaded, and then the one on the end has a little turned it down shaft in the front, which I suppose pushes in on the jib screw. And then also I wanted to go over here real quick and mention this product that I found. My buddy J.R. Bentley mentioned it to me, and it's really great. I've only just started using it here, but you can see what it is. It's called evapo-rust, and it's designed to remove rust from metal parts. It's non-toxic, biodegradable, so it's a very safe product. Anyways, you can see I just tossed in the handle here, and you can see it's already starting to eat away the rust. And then in here, this is one that's been in here for about an hour, and of course this was completely brown, just like the milling table looks. And so you can see it's doing a fantastic job of getting the rust off. And then I'll polish this here eventually, and probably blue this part or something. And you can see the nuts are starting to clean up. Like I said, this has only been in about half an hour. Here's a nut. You can kind of see the contrast. Here's the outside that's very rusty, and then here's the inside, which was rusty but is now starting to clean up. And here you can see I just set the bolt, the T-slot bolt in, so you can actually see the difference between the rusted area and the clean part. And this thing was only in for about 15-20 minutes, then I yanked it out to make room for the other handle. So if you're restoring something, or you've got something that's rusty, this stuff is really, looks like it's going to prove to be pretty handy. I picked mine up at AutoZone, although you can find it, on eBay and I think Amazon too. So anyways, handy stuff, evapo-rust. Okay, as you can see, I successfully removed the cross-slide table. You can see here's the lead screw, the dovetails. I still haven't removed this yet, but I'll be taking a look at that in a little bit. It's probably just a pressed on bearing, so I'm going to see if I can just remove this whole housing from the cross slide, and that should let me work on the bearings in that, or the bearing in that one. Anyways, and then you can see here's the state of the knee. You can see this is the lead screw nut for the x-axis, held on with a couple bolts, and it looks like there's a bolt up here that holds on the lead screw for the y-axis. So far so good. I think I'll probably call it a day here in a minute, and maybe upload this video or add a little bit more to it. But this was pretty successful. Looks like the jib and the dovetails, everything's in real good shape. And it's interesting to see how this is configured, because I'm contemplating turning this into a CNC mill. And so of course there's usually some backlash in the lead screws that use the Acme threads. So I'm going to look into installing maybe some kind of ball screw that the stepper motors can turn. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do that right away, or I might actually just clean the mill up, put it back together, and then become accustomed to using it, and then see about kind of which way to go with the CNC. Although ultimately my goal is to have a CNC mill, and so far I'm very impressed with the clausing, so it makes sense to look into adding the CNC and the stepper motors and everything onto this mill, as opposed to having this mill and then also having a CNC mill that maybe isn't as capable. Although I do like the idea of having a tag CNC, but excuse me, I think realistically this clausing could be converted over to CNC without a lot of trouble. It looks like the cross slide and everything has provisions. I mean, you can see right here, it's just ready made for a bracket that'll hold a motor. So I got to do a little bit more research on the CNC stuff, but that's definitely looking like it could be a possibility, especially if I can machine something to just bolt right on and then swap out the lead screws, and maybe just do a little machining on the lead screws and get them to work with the clausing. So okay, anyways, that's where things stand. I just wanted to update on how it was going with taking the mill apart, so you can kind of see where things are at. All right, I've got the milling table in here, and I don't know if you can tell, but I built a little, like a moat around it with duct tape right here, and then I filled it up with that evapo-rust stuff, poured a bottle in, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job. As you can see, I got some leaks there. I didn't really get the tape on as much as I thought, but what I did was I packed paper towels in here, and then that way it soaks up the evapo-rust and holds it against the T-slot area in the table and everything like that. So anyway, I'm going to leave it in here for a while. The paper towels kind of hold the evapo-rust in, so it doesn't leak out quite as fast. Anyways, you can see the lead screws and some of the stuff here, and then over here I'm kind of doing the same routine with the evapo-rust, and I've got a little metal can here that I poured some of that stuff in, and I've got all kinds of stuff in here. I've got another one over here, and so that's it. You can see some of the other stuff it came with. I got a nice set of T-slot bolts, bunch of hold downs over here. I forget what's in there, but over here I've got some chucks. These are some of the bolts. And then I've got some cutting tools and a fly cutter, although it needs a little work. It's kind of bent out of shape. And then I've got a couple tool holders and another looks like a fly cutter. In here I've got a set of hardened Morse 2 taper collets. And I guess that's about it. Let me see I forgot what I had in here. Oh yeah, this is just that's right. This is just a box of old cutting bits, but you can see there's quite a few in here. So I think most of them are regrinds, but should be fine for practicing on the mill. And then you can see there, this is the pulley on top that goes on top of the motor. And I think that's about it. Oh, you can see the little crank handles over here. They're in really good shape. This is the fine feed on the spindle. This is the spare handle that came off when I guess they installed the power cross feed, which is over here. And then I also picked up got a little rotary table. I think that's a Palm Grin, relabeled as Craftsman. So it's that's on the list to be cleaned. And then I've got a little vise here. It looks like a 4-inch. Maybe it's 4.5 inch. I can't recall, but it's got a rotary thing where you can turn it and stuff. So I'll clean that up, and then that'll probably work pretty well. I might pick up a Glassern or the Shocks one or whatever it's called, where they have the flush sides so you can turn them at different angles. So, although I don't know if I may not need that. So just kind of taking inventory of stuff. I think this power feed unit is going to end up getting sold because I'm not going to use it. And like I mentioned before, I'm going to try to convert over to CNC. And in the meantime, I'll just run the mill manually. So, although I think I do have a buyer for this already. So if not, I'm going to throw it up on eBay. So, anyways, that's that. And like I say, I just gonna let this chemical do its job, and then I think after it's doing a good job. I pulled the paper towels out and looked in there earlier, and it was like night and day difference on the down in the T-slots, which were really dirty, and then up on the surface, it's well, I guess I can pull some up on the surface. It's doing a pretty good job. I can't really see too well, but you can kind of see it's starting to pull off. I mean, it's pulled off a lot of the rust. You can see here. And like I say, the chemical kind of leaked out. But anyhow, this is all the evapo-rust stuff. And I think it's pretty much done as much as it's going to do. I was mainly trying to get a little bit more down in the T-slots area. So I think the next step, I mean, short of, maybe leaving this overnight or something, but I think the next step is going to be to bring down some Barkeeper's Friend and maybe see what I can do here. So anyways, that's where things stand right now. So coming along slowly but surely. Okay, just a quick update here. As you can see, got the table in the bathtub, and I've been scrubbing away at it for about 30 minutes. Used some Barkeeper's Friend and a little bit of steel wool down there, and a couple scouring pads and what have you. So it's looking pretty good. I'm going to rinse it off and then oil it up and see if I can put a polish on it. Doesn't really need to be polished, but I do want to try to get a little bit of a polish since that helps corrosion resistance. But it's coming along pretty well, and I don't think anything I'm doing is really affecting the flatness of the surface, maybe, I don't know, 1/10 or even less, I would imagine. It's hard to say. Anyways, I'm gonna hand scrape the surface, so that'll restore it to probably even flatter than when it was originally new, and then I'll trim the head and check to see if there's any irregularities or anything. So, and the non-critical surfaces, you know, down in the T-slots and stuff, it's a lot easier to clean those because you can be a little more aggressive. But so it's looking pretty good. It's not finished by any means. I've got some cleaning up to do on the side, and I've got to oil it down. I'm going to move it up onto the counter here in a second, and get it cleaned up a little bit more and oiled, and then you can see it starting to oxidize there. So I'm going to get the metal sealed up a little bit and see if I can put a polish on it to help it resist oxidation, and then we'll see how it goes from there. Okay. Okay, I'll try to get a shot here. As you can see, I'm polishing up the bed using some Blue Magic metal polish, which is very good metal. Good for polishing metal and all kinds of different stuff. If you never used it, definitely check into it. Then I've got my little tube of Marvel Mystery Oil, which I use for my air tools and to just oil surfaces on equipment and what have you. Anyways, I'm just polishing the surface here, and I'm going to see what kind of polish it'll take. I haven't really, you know, like sanded the surface in a manner that would make it a high gloss or a, you know, super shiny, but that's not really the purpose here. The purpose is to just kind of get into the little microscopic grain of the metal and kind of polish that part. And when you don't have a perfectly flat, you know, surface that's been sanded at 2000 grit, it doesn't always shine up too well. I might block sand this out just a hair with 2000 grit. Like I say, I'm going to come back and hand scrape it, so I'm not too worried about any very mild effect from sanding. And plus, I'm not even sure it's enough to change the tolerance of more than a couple tenths. So anyways, it's coming along, and I'm getting ready to knock off for the day. So this will probably be the end of this video, but we'll check in here pretty soon and see how things are taking shape, and see how the machine is coming along. Okay, calling it quits for the day here. Just want to give you a quick look at the table. It's not finished, of course. You know, I've got some stuff on the side here that I got to work on it underneath, and a little attention to the dovetails, although not very much. And but it's coming along. It looks real good. There's really no defects. I mean, there's a slight nick right there. I don't know if you can really see it. Slight nick right there, but it's very minor. And then there's just a little tiny kind of ding right there. But again, it's, you know, super minor on a machine of this age. I may take a 3-sided file and run it down this channel a couple of times, just to put a very slight chamfer on these edges, you know, just to relieve kind of that sharp corner. I think that's how the mills like the Tormach are set up. I'll have to double check, but I think it would be nice to take the sharp edge off here just to reduce stuff like this, you know. So anyways, gonna let the oil soak in overnight here, and I'll get back to work on it in the next couple of days. So got a lot more work to do. It was a lot harder to clean the table than I thought, but it did come out pretty nice, so that's the main thing. Okay, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I'll be happy to answer. Thanks.